The power of disaster. It was late morning and the traffic was moving like thick lava through the streets of Kathmandu. I was on the back of the motorbike and I was taking it all in. Oh, it smelled like incense, spices and freedom. My French boyfriend, the jet lag, and I, we were heading towards the temple. Just before, I had lost my wallet with 500 euros inside and he complained, "Oh, what kind of traveler are you, losing all the money?" But I trusted it would come back, and it did. A young couple had found it. Nepal is one of my favorite countries. Every time you walk down the street, someone is shouting out, "Namaste, Didi, come to my shop and have a cup of tea." And I often do. I enjoy chatting and joking with the local people while buying one of their small handmade goods. My favorite restaurant belongs to Tara. She's a beautiful mom of three and she makes the most delicious momos, and while waiting I always practice a bit of English with her kids. Oh, I was happy. The first time ever I felt like I was at the center of my universe. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. It was lunchtime and we were strolling down the streets and I looked into the window of a small shop filled with jewelry, turquoise, coral, pearls and a bit of silver. When suddenly I heard this big bang. My God, it was so loud, my ears were ringing. When people were pulling me into a shop and I heard this ripping sound and I couldn't tell, was it my shirt or was it a tenant? And I remember how fast bodies move without being aware of the situation. I was still in my happy place when suddenly the world around me collapsed. People clinging onto me and going, "Mani Padme Hum, oh Mani Padme Hum," and my brain going, "Oh, I'm not quite sure what's happening here." When seconds later, it all came to a stop. I ran outside and there was silence I never knew before. And a moment later, hell broke loose. All I could see was just clouds of dust everywhere. Sirens going off, people screaming, running in all directions. Tara's restaurant, a 4-story high building, collapsed into a big pile of rubble, people being buried underneath. And then other people digging with their bare hands until they were bleeding. And we were running, we ran for our lives and the ground started shaking and moving and more buildings collapsed. And cries of despair and suddenly the smell of fear in the air. And it felt like the goddess Kali, the goddess of destruction, had opened her mouth to swallow all of us. And everything we take for granted, gone in 90 seconds. Nepal has been hit by the biggest earthquake ever, was all over the news the next day. Oh, and then we fled into the unknown, and 2 days later we reached a small village, the oasis of hope. Oh, people from all over, business people, hikers, tourists, hippies, young people, old people all gathered together in a small restaurant. Strangers became friends. Strangers shared their story while having a meal, comforting each other and asking, "How are you?" And suddenly we formed this big family, like a community, and it really didn't matter who you were or who you had been. And everything I had experienced in those days gave me sweet epiphany. Humanity is our fundamental setting. The more the world falls apart, the closer we grow together. Concrete cracked, buildings collapsed. But never ever in my whole life, and never ever since, have I experienced a stronger bond with people than in those hard days. And this fills me with hope, especially in times like now where the world is facing so many crises. Every time I lean back on this experience, I know humanity is our fundamental setting. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the true power of disaster.